Should you use your home equity to buy a business? Maybe buy some more real estate? Folks, I don't know if you know this, but it is said that there's over $35 trillion in home equity. But more to the point, there's $11 trillion in tappable equity. We will talk about what that is in a minute. But what was really happened over the last 12 to 18 months is people have figured out that not everybody wants to get rid of their low interest rate first. So they're not doing cash out refis. That used to be the traditional way of getting equity out. Now they have created DSCR seconds and home equity lines and things of that nature because they realize nobody's getting rid of that first, and they got a bunch of equity, and we need to lend money. So, Bo, should you use your home equity to buy a business or buy more real estate?
It's a great question. A few months back, I applied to put a HELOC on my house, and I was utterly amazed how easy it is today to get equity lines. It is absolutely easy. And now with these DSCR HELOCs and DSCR closed-end second mortgages on rental properties, it's a crazy industry. So before we went live, I was telling Michael, I have many licenses. One of them is an NMLS license that I've had forever. So I had to do continuing education. So I went to a local conference here in Las Vegas. And part of what I had to do for my continuing education is visit the 500 booths and get little signs off so I could show the following day the instructor that I went to each booth to get my CE for this year, 2026. Every year we got to do CE. And so I went and I was talking to every non-QM, and now it's like everybody is non-QM. It's a ridiculous amount of capital, private capital out there now, like I've never seen. When I first got into the hard money lending business and I would do fix and flip loans, there wasn't institutional fix and flip money. So knowing all this, with so many people sitting with a lot of equity in their house and the availability to borrow against rental properties equity lines like they couldn't do maybe a year ago, one of the wholesale lenders that was on stage was talking about that's their main bread and butter product right now. Seconds. They're doing tons of them. The account rep said his average loan amount for a second is $350,000.
Damn.
So
wow.
What does that mean? Now, personally, I think it's good to have dry powder. I don't think it's good for you to rush into making an investment decision overnight, right? But do I think it's a good time to load up on, if you had several rental properties, and get equity lines or seconds on these properties? I mean, it might be a good time because it's very aggressive lending. In a few months or 2 years from now, it might not be there. So what they also said was, it was interesting, was there's more and more parents gifting their houses and rental properties to their children right now. So they're seeing a big influx of them tapping into using non-QM loan products for that. So that got me to think, like, you can use a HELOC or equity inject, a HELOC or a closed-end second. You can use that capital as your down payment or your equity injection to buy a business via SBA. So I do think that this is a viable option. And talking to a lot of people, they're tapping into their equity in their homes to buy a franchise, to buy a business, to buy the next rental property. So I think that trend is here to stay until the market gets tight again, which I don't know when that will be. Right now, it seems like it's loose. I don't think it's stupid loose.
Well, here's what's going on, I think, is, for several years, while rates were going down, and certainly when they crashed below 3%, you didn't have to do seconds because the market was hungry for firsts. And what we're seeing in the real estate game, and certainly the mortgage game, is a freaking depression, right? Transactions are like way down. And a market that's way down, they have to create solutions. And right now, there's $11 trillion in tappable equity, right? We'll define that in a minute. And, the most of that doesn't want to replace the first because the first is at 1.9 or 2.6 or whatever. So it makes complete sense that they came out with seconds. And you know, these seconds, what are these seconds at? Are these at like 8%, 9%? What are these seconds at? Do you know?
It's all tiered. So it's based on LTV credit score and
Okay.
and
So
debt
there's
service
a range.
coverage.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
So they go anywhere from 8 to 12, right?
Okay. That
Depending
makes
on,
sense.
yeah.
Okay. So it makes total sense to me. But and it's really funny because again, sometimes timing works out. We saw rates go to 5.99. I don't want to, what is that, 60 days ago, 90 days ago, maybe 100 days ago. And I did very publicly 2 cash out refis on this channel because I wanted to raise dry powder, right? I wanted to raise 7 figures so I can go shopping. And, a lot of you didn't do what I did, right? You thought maybe rates would go lower or whatnot. But again, I think we're in an environment where rates are going to be kind of range bound for some time to come. And there's nothing wrong with having some dry powder. Now, should you rush out and, go get an equity line on your primary? I'm not a big fan of that. But if you have a collection of rental properties that have $1 million in equity, who's to say you shouldn't go peel off 200 grand to have just in case? And it's really interesting because I think there's a lot of lenders that are like, hey, I got money committed. I got to lend this out and make a return. And their only options is seconds.
From what that account executive said on stage, he also said a lot of people are just doing it right now. They don't necessarily have another property they're buying right now or whatever, or business.
Yeah.
But they're just like, let's take advantage of what's available right now, because
that's what I did. Yeah.
If the lending gets tight, and now with DSCR lending, non-QM lending being so cost effective, it's comparable to conventional financing. So
absolutely,
the downside to that is you get a 3 to 5 year prepay depending on what you want to price the loan at. But to me, for investors, it's like amazing. I was just talking to an investor yesterday. He was telling me that he had an opportunity to buy he does luxury STR in Florida, and he had 2 properties he owned right now. Both, he owed $1 million on each of them. They're both worth $2 million. And now he found one in the same zip code. And so we got to talking about, and he was just so happy that they created this program for investors. Right. And it's really fascinating to see how this has come to be, this whole industry, which has really grown and blown up. I mean, non-QM really started, I think, in 2012 or 13. It's very new.
Relatively new. Yeah. This is really their first cycle, right? It started because it was started because guys like me couldn't get loans, right?
Yeah.
I was a real estate guy. And once I had 4, I couldn't get any more. And we had to go hard money, and hard money was 12 with 3 points and all these other stupid things. And then DSCR came out of that because Wall Street figured out, holy shit, we don't have to charge 12. We can charge 9 in print money. So yeah, DSCR was born for guys like me way back in, I don't know, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I was just on a call prior to, and they were talking about, how when people get money in their accounts, they have to go invest it. Like, and sometimes that's not really the point. The point is to prepare yourself. You don't necessarily, just because you have $1 million of equity, that's a great thing.
Right.
But having the availability and the readiness of the capital, I think, is critical.
Well, that's exactly why I was very public. I mean, about what I did is I told everybody I was doing it. I did it with Convoy. We did 2 different things. It wasn't because I had a deal lined up. It's just because I wanted to be able to write those cash offers. And I knew that sometime between the day we closed and the next 2 years, having that cash there would be helpful. Now, again, this money is sitting in a high yield account, making 3.5% or 4%. The debt I took was 5.99. So yeah, I'm losing, but they're on rental properties. So the tenants are paying the mortgage. So yeah, I was very happy to be prepared because I've done this game before. And you don't want to go get ready. You want to be ready when an opportunity comes. And for me, I had to be ready, right? So we did it early, and I'm happy we did. I'd have to pay at least 1%, if not 1.5% higher if I didn't get this money 100 days ago.
Yeah, that was so. By you doing this, do you feel like it's going to be like 8 to 80 coming up in the next 12 months for you? I mean, kind of maybe not that juicy, but
yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I was on Ryan Pineda's show the other day, and I don't know if this episode or this part's in there, but Olivia and I are getting close to the end of this cycle, right? We're I have at 65 we're done playing, right? We're just done. We never met a 65-year-old landlord that did a good job, so we're done, right? We know when the clock turns off, and we're getting closer and closer to that every year. So I told Ryan that I've probably got 2 more scalps that I want to put on the wall, not because I have to, but because I want to, right? I want to prove that I can do this again. And yeah, I think there's 2 more, 20 to 50 unit buildings that we'll buy that will be completely disgusting, completely beat to shit. And we will struggle for 2 to 2.5 years to turn them around. And then they will print money like crazy. And then we'll ride off into the sunset and be done with this thing. So yeah, I'm hoping to take two significant size deals down in the next 24 months.
what are you going to do different, if anything? I mean, because you're just a different person now than you were when you did that. So, I mean, how are you setting the table to get these opportunities right now? I mean, obviously you have deal finders. People know you from the YouTube channel here. What's your strategy going forward now?
So talking to really ramping up the discussions with small community banks. Those are the people we bought from last time, who financed us last time. Will probably finance us this time. I'm never going to get Wells Fargo or Citibank to call me back, but I can get Tri-County Bank to call me back because I have $1 million with them. I can get another community bank to call me back because I've got $5 million in loans with them. So it's about networking with them, letting them know that I'm here, that I've never missed a payment. Here, they have my financial statements. So that's a big one. I think the biggest thing we're doing is we now understand it's going to take 2.5 years to turn these buildings around. I incorrectly assumed that we could turn a 20 or 30 unit building around in 6 months last time. And that's just not how the game's played at that scale. So we're budgeting for 2.5 years of suck. So we're making sure that money's already tucked away. So we're just going to be a lot more prepared, a lot more conservative. And we'll be able to get through the suck a lot better.
Very cool. Very cool. I think I'm frozen.
Yeah, but I can hear you, so keep going. You're good.
Yeah. So I did start watching. I don't know why I freeze on StreamYard sometimes. I start watching the Pineda episode with you in it. And I was reading the comments, and like they get a really different breed of people on that channel.
Yeah.
Brian is kind of I don't want to say shit talker, but he was kind of shit talking a little bit on that.
Of course he was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because I've known him for a long time. It was interesting just hearing him do that. I think he was just trying to get under your skin a little bit in a fun way, but he kind of rubs people the wrong way, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he does it all on purpose. It's all a shtick, I think. So, you got to know that going in. But, at the end of the day, I did change my opinion on one thing. In that interview, we talked about, hey, I thought it would be a great time for wholesalers. And they basically told me it's not because they have an exit. So I've changed my opinion. And I told my audience that when I came back. The only people that are going to benefit in this part of the cycle are buyers who are willing to do the work, write disrespectful offers, follow up, because we don't have an exit. If you have to sell a property today, it sucks. That includes flippers, wholesalers, homeowners. If you have to sell, it's a shitty time. But if you're a buyer and you got some scratch, you can get some crazy good deals.
Yeah, that's good. That's good feedback. Yeah, it's interesting just talking to different people but I do see a tremendous amount of opportunity being able to tap into equity to leverage into the next market cycle, which is really how you can build extreme momentum.
Here's the key. if you really want to get wealthy, you've got to buy when you have no competition and everybody's scared. And that's today. Everybody's scared. The deals are there. The creativity. I mean, you've been doing small business lending, which makes real estate look like, simple. The amount of things you could do for a seller finance deal with small businesses is crazy. So this is the time, people, if you want to go buy that service business, it's the time. It's funny. Unfortunately, I was in a funeral yesterday for a friend's father who passed. And we got seated with, it was a real estate audience. So I was sitting with one of my insurance brokers. I was sitting with the plumber who does a lot of our jobs. And during that conversation, the plumber pulled out his phone and showed me his car garage. This plumber has a Lamborghini something, a Ferrari 438 or whatever it's called, a big ass Porsche, and like $2 million in cars as a plumber. So again, this is about the service industry. Service industries are going to explode. So if you can go buy a business with seller financing or small business loans, it's going to be an amazing time to make some moves, Bo.
The last deal I closed a couple of weeks back was a guy bought a business we did an SBA loan for $5 million. He did an acquisition of this huge construction company. They do all like the underground utility infrastructure work. Mm-hmm. Makes, top millions of top line. And it was like, he was able to do that. I mean, this guy was pretty sophisticated, was well to do, but the opportunity that he just made in one move was really amazing. And what was most interesting, we gave him some talking points. He went back to the seller after he had it under LOI and negotiated the price down $1 million. So
there you go.
I think it's a great time right now. And I think it's good to be prepared, understand the lending all across the board, from SBA across to tapping into equity in your real estate. And it doesn't seem like the non-QM space is slowing down. No. And even some of my people that are investing in franchises, understanding that they can tap in potentially into one of the rental properties as a down payment, or to use that equity to invest in a business versus getting SBA financing. Maybe they can't, maybe they're not working right now or whatever. There's lots of optionality, and understanding that and making your life easier. And then also I'm a big fan of tapping into debt equity that's not really getting any return, as long as you're not being foolish with the money, obviously.
There you go. If somebody wanted to reach out and see what's what do they do?
OneRentalMeeting.com. Just book a call.
There you go, folks. It's been on the screen the whole time. OneRentalMeeting.com. Yes, he bought a URL just for the ORAT community. Reach out. He's a great guy. Thanks, Bo.
Thank you.